Hi guys, welcome back to MVI's Max channel. I'm here with Tim. And
This guy.
he just recently topped in Duluth, Georgia for Shadowverse. How did you do, Tim?
I think I did pretty well. Surprisingly, I did pretty well with what I had, and for how long I started this game. Just wanted to point that out that I started this game about 5 months ago. So this game is relatively new to me, but after my performance at Duluth, it felt really good to get top 16 with this list.
All right, congratulations. So what did you play today?
I played Rune Kuwan. Yeah, I know it's the boogeyman of the format, but then this list is a little bit interesting because of a couple things that I wanted to address first. So initially, this list was built post Kuwan ban, in which I didn't realize until the day of the event, in which a friend of mine, Brian, pointed out to me that the ban isn't in effect until after the end of November. In which I was like, I didn't know that. I built this deck around the ban list. So when on the day of the event, I went inside the venue to try to find the curse crafters to put back into the deck, but unfortunately I couldn't find the evolve. So I only run one evolve curse crafter.
Dude, that's so unfortunate.
Yeah.
So what was your matchup like that day?
My matchups that day, I played. There was 7 rounds of Swiss. I played against 4 Cinderella Girls decks, 2 Kuwan mirrors, and I played 1 Haven during Swiss. I lost to the Rune Kuwan, but I won everything else.
Oh, that's really
Technically, I lost the first round, but my round 1 opponent gave me the win because he was gonna drop anyways.
Oh wow, that's really good of him.
Yeah.
So what did you play into Top Cut?
Into Top Cut, unfortunately, we did scrub out at Top Cut. I went into Marwyn Haven, and he slammed Marwyn turn 4, and I could not out it.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, unfortunate, yes.
Alright, so let's get into your deck profile.
Alright, sounds good. We're gonna start off with the spells.
For sure.
For the spells, we play the 3 Lamplet. Lamplet's a pretty good card. It's a 1-cost ping 2 damage to a follow-on board. Just a removal spell. It's very important for Kuwan, only because we are very slow in the beginning of the game. Maybe we don't start getting there until we draw into our more draw into the draw cards such as Insight and draw into Penguin, then which we can ditch spells off to increase our spell chain in order to make Kuwan a bit cheaper as the game progresses into late game. But yeah, this card's just good all around. Cheap, very cheap removals, very cheap control card. Only costs 1, and you can just leave 1 mana floating, so that way if they bring something on board on their turn, at the end step you can just remove it from the board. Good card. Also combos very well with another card we'll get into a little bit later. Yeah, with that being said, here's another 1-drop that we played, the Insight. Very self-explanatory. It's like an Upstart Goblin. You just draw 1. But then as opposed to an Upstart Goblin, this is a counter. So this is kind of like a hand trap, like a hand trap Upstart Goblin. So you can actually play this on their turn as well, which is nice. You have 1 mana floating. You can actually let them know. Just leave 1 mana floating. Kind of makes you think that I'm gonna play this, but I have this instead. So if anything, they might not commit to the board, or at least like commit to the damage if they want to. So there's that.
Sure.
And it also as a spell counts towards spell chain as well. So also good. We going to the 2 drops. We play the Surefire Bullet. Card is really good. In a vacuum, but in hindsight, we would probably play Chainfire instead, in which it does AoE damage. Since a lot of our matchups did like swarm the board a lot, especially the CG matchups. So we probably would play that. But this card is still a very good card. It basically just kills off any evolved units that your opponent plays. It's a quick spell as well, so you can do it on their turn as well. Otherwise, on an evolved character, it does like 3 damage, which is also most of the time we just kill them off, especially in the early game. So cards just really good in general. Next up, we have the in this case here. Well, we actually get to this card later, but we're gonna get into Trail of Light. So Trail of Light is it's just a card that helps you draw into more cards. Also helps with spell chain as well. You can grab this off of Merlin, search it off Merlin, and after that, pitch it off Penguin if you really want to. Or if your Shikigami tokens get killed, you can actually just draw, pitch the Trail of Light, and then off Trail of Light's effect, draw another card. You can also, it's also very good as well if you overhand. If you overhand at the end step, you have all these cards hand, the discard effect still procs as well. So you want to also keep in mind that you can just keep dropping more spells at the end step, even if you're overhand with this card, especially if you're overhand with this card. Helps you get into Kuon faster, also helps you build more fuel for your other chain, for your spell chain cards as well. So card is mandatory 3 of here, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool effect.
Yeah. Moving on, we have the first of the Omnioji cards here. We play the Shikigami Summons, very self-explanatory card. You play the card and it summons you one of these paper Shikigami tokens. The Shikigami token is also a good token in general. If it dies, last will, and you get to draw one and you get to pitch a card. Pretty good card. Also combos well with this as well. So then you just keep drawing, and keep bringing more fuel for your spell chain as well. There's also a secondary effect if you have a spell chain of 7 or more, or in combined, if you have 7 or more Omnioji followers and spells, you can also draw a card as well. So another card that boosts consistency, that also scales very well when you get into the mid game or the late game if you build your spell chains early. So there's that. We play a bunch of one-ups in this deck. So we played the 1 Chain of Calling, 1 Rhyme Wind, 1 Truth's Education, Dimensional Fissure, Crimson Meteor Storm, Witch Bolt, and we also play the Concentration. So there's a couple of reasonings why we play a bunch of these one-ups here. For Chain of Calling, it's just to help us in the worst case scenario where you do not see Kuon. There was actually one matchup where I did not see Kuon at all, and I didn't see Kuon at all. It was actually on the 7th round against Haven. I had a spell chain of 20 and I still did not see Kuon. So there was actually like the last 6 or 7 cards left in the deck. This got me through 5 cards and I saw the all 3 Kuons at the bottom of the deck. So
oh, wow.
So in that situation, this card may have not mattered, but it's also there just in case that situation does happen. So you kind of just want to go through your deck just to find the one follow that you need. Or in this case, you want to go for Kuon here. So there's that. It also recovers 1 play point as well, so it also refunds you that 1 extra play point. So it'll kind of just this eventually just costs like a 1 cost. However, it does need spell chain 10 here, so keep that in mind. It's very good in the late game as well, especially if you're for some reason don't see Kuon. Next up, we play the Rhyme Wind. Rhyme Wind is actually very good in the mirror. In the mirror and also the CG matchup, especially since they play a bunch of cards that don't evolve. For CG at least, you can just bounce it back to your hand and then don't have to worry about it for next turn. I think it's more important in the Kuon mirror only because that you can actually bounce their tokens, so that way they don't get their draw pitch, and that's very important in the Kuon matchup. Since if you're playing the mirror Kuon matchup, it's just a race to see who gets his soul chain 15 first. So yeah, this card's very good for that regard. Truth's Education is also a very good card here as well. It combos very well. Actually, the very standard line for this card is it also does an extra 6 damage to your opponent if you combo it off with Merlin. So basically what it does is you play Merlin to search out the Truth's Education, you play the Truth's Education, deal 30 damage to your opponent, and then after that you evolve Merlin, you get to play a 3-cost spell for free from your cemetery. You usually choose this card and you deal another 3. So that'll be 6 damage off of 2 cards, which is pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty good here.
And I noticed that you only played 1 Dimension Shift.
Yeah, so for this here, my initial reasoning for playing 1 Dimensional Shift is because this card's dead most of the time for me. But in hindsight though, I do think that I should at least bump this up to 2. Especially at Brian's urging as well, I should bump this up to 2, only because in the case I do see this card, it's actually another spell for me to ditch off of the Shikigami token or off of Penguin Wizard as well. So if anything, it just fuels spell chain, which is nice. So even if it's a dead card, it's still fuel for your Kuon. So I would probably bump this to 2. I've not decided yet what to cut yet, but I will definitely play this at 2 in the future.
For sure.
Next up, we played this 1 Crimson Meteor Storm. This card has done work for me during all 7 of those rounds. I have resolved this card at least once each game. This card is amazing in the Cinderella Girls matchup, only because that the moment they commit their board, this basically undoes everything that they do, which is very nice. It also does a bonus effect of 3 damage to your opponent's face as well. You can also play this for cheap if you have a spell chain of 10. This becomes a 5-cost spell instead. So this is very good to hold, because then what you can do is you can actually offer Merlin, searches off of Merlin, and now your opponent your opponent knows that you have this in hand. They have to be very careful, which makes them basically second guess their play. So it gives, if anything, it helps you buy time to help cultivate spell chain for your deck, for your plays as well. So if anything, it's kind of like a very nice stall card as well, because then just for the fact that they know that you searched it out, now they gotta play around this now. So there's that. This card has been very very helpful during those rounds. There was actually a round where like I actually solve this off of the Tachyon, and I played this for 5 costs, and that just sealed the game there as well. Pretty funny play, but it gave me the line to victory there. So nice. There's that. Next up, we have the Witch Bolt. This card is also another card that pairs well with Merlin as well, only because that it's a huge removal spell. It does 5 damage to a follower on board, and if you have a Evolve follower on board, you can draw a card. So just like how we use Merlin to loop Truth's Education, we use this to loop Witch Bolt as well. So in the case, like if you burn through your spells a little bit early and you need cards to you just need to refill your hand and everything, you basically use Merlin to search this out, Witch Bolt, kill something on board, and then evolve Merlin, play the 3-cost spell again. You choose this or this. If you need more hand, you want to clear something on board, you do this, and then not only do you kill something on board, you also get a draw off that as well. So pretty good card to have, just to have. And yeah, that's there. It's also a standard line with one of the standard lines for Merlin as well, especially during the mid game.
For sure.
Last one up we play for the spell lineup is the Concentration. This card actually put in a lot of work as well, only because so we primarily played this card just to heal 3, because there were a lot of decks, there were a lot of matchups during the day where I did get bursted down, namely CG. They really burst me down to low life, and usually I do the combo with Merlin again, where I just loop the hell out of this, and I keep and just to make sure that I stay out of range of dying, because when you play Kuan, it always feels like you're behind, even though you're supposed to play Kuan like that. But sometimes you just want to feel safe a little bit, because you don't know how much range they do, and if they top deck something that could give them that range, you don't want to risk that. So I did loop this card a lot. I resolved this several times, probably at the most 2 times per game. There was like 1 game I didn't use that at all. But yeah, just the heal 3 itself is very, very good. It also lets you draw a card as well, so that's also pretty cool as well. Also helps you refill hand as well. So it's a very, very good defensive card that I personally would like to see more often in this deck, especially against aggro matchups.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's always good to have insurance.
Yep, for sure. So that is our spell lineup. So moving on to our follower lineup here. We play the 3 Kuans. Play the 3 Kuans here.
Yeah, the boogeyman of the format.
The boogeyman of the format here. We also play the 3 Curse Crafters, 3 Merlins, 3 Tachyons.
Oh, Tachyons. That's a pretty interesting card choice.
So this card, I'll get into that in a little bit here. We play the 2 Penguin Wizards, the 2 Demon Callers, and the 2 Traditional Sorcerers. So starting with Kuan here, self-explanatory. This is what our deck's built around. We've got to make sure to build enough spell chain to bring this guy out for free. He on a printed cost 15, but he essentially becomes a cost 0, which if you have enough spell cards or Amyoji cards in your cemetery. So for each card that deducts 1 cost from this, and then if you have enough, this becomes a free card to cost to play. On play, it does summon a Celestial Shikigami token, in which this token has aura, in this case it's hexproof, so it doesn't get targeted by any spells or anything. So they can't just like play a spell that just negate. If they play a spell that selects, they can't select this card. They have to select other things on the board. So this is pretty good to ensure that the damage goes through without getting interrupted. So this card is good. And also, if you can for Kuan, you can tap this card to give up to 2 celestial 2 Shikigami followers on board. Storm, which lets them attack the turn that they are playing. So usually you want to pair it up with cards like Shikigami Summons, or Traditional Sorcerer, or Demon Caller, or Curse Crafter, which all calls a token on board. So that way you just have 2 bodies that are ready to attack that turn as well.
Yeah, it's a pretty nasty card.
Yep. It also pairs well with the D Fisher. If anything, that's the OTK line with Kuan, is you pair with D Fisher, because then all your resources have already been are going to be going towards D-Fisher, since D-Fisher costs 7 if you have a spell chain of if it lets you not a spell chain, but rather it banishes 10 spells from your cemetery so that it skips your opponent next turn. So you basically essentially get to gain another turn after that, and that's usually the OTK line with Kuwan and D-Fisher.
That does sound pretty nasty.
It is pretty nasty, and which is why it is the boogeyman of the format. So there's that. Sure. Next up, we play the 3 Curse Crafter. Initially, we were playing very bad cards before because the list was adjusted post ban lists, in which I didn't realize until the day of the event, in which I had to go around every vendor to look for 2 Curse Crafter base and add them to the deck and change my deck list afterwards.
Oh.
Yeah, but if anything, I mean, we only play 3 Curse Crafter base, but it's still fine because it still does the necessary effect where I can bury one of my Shikigami tokens to deal 4 to a follow-on board, which is very good for controlling the mid game, especially the mid game, especially because then that's where a lot of aggro decks try to kill you from. So there's that. It also procs off the token effect as well. You draw pitch just to keep just more fuel to add for your for Kuwan or for your spell chain spells. So this card is absolutely broken. The evil is also just as broken because then once you evil into the evil Curse Crafter, you also deal 2 damage to another follow-on board. So it's just you can do like a 2-for-1 with this card, which is absolutely crazy. Maybe even a 3-for-1, because if you evolve it too, especially because you get a swing with it too. Card's absolutely nuts. There's a reason why this card's getting banned soon.
I'm so glad it's getting hit soon. Because playing against that card is no fun.
Yeah, I'm assuming it would be. But then again, it will get hit. I did play this post. I did play this list post ban list. I think Kuwan will be just fine without it.
For sure.
Quote unquote, obviously. Speaking of which, though, even though I'm not getting to it yet, but we do play only 1 Curse Crafter because we couldn't find 2 more Curse Crafters at the venue. So yeah, that's a my B on my end, but it's kind of funny that I still got top 16 with this though. Moving on, we have the Merlin here. I mentioned it earlier, and when I did the spell lineup, this card is very important because it searches out for any spells, and including all your high cost spells. So if you're looking for D-Shift, you can search out D-Shift. I need Crimson Meteor Storm. I can search for Crimson Meteor Storm. During the entirety of all my games that day, I searched Crimson Meteor Storm the most because it adds that extra layer of mind games to my opponent where they have to play around the Crimson Meteor Storm. So it's basically I'm just living the head rent free, and this card just kind of, and with just that combo alone, it just gives me a free one or 2 turns just so they can think on how they're gonna play around it, which gives me time to fill my grave with more spells. The evil is very, very strong as well. So on Evo you can actually play a cost 3 or lower spell from your cemetery for free. So you basically as with the other lines before with like Truth Agitator or like with Witch Bolt, I can either play Witch Bolt for free, get a draw, or I can do Truth Agitator where I can do 3 damage to my opponent if I need to kill them without having to interact with my opponent.
Wow. So very powerful card.
Very powerful card indeed. So this card is a mandatory 3 of here. This is like the only card I think it's a 3 of. I would say this is a 3 of as well, but this is getting hit soon. I don't think it's sure. I think it doesn't. This card's obviously a 3 of until the ban list, but yeah, these 2 cards are definitely a 3 of. The most interesting choice here is definitely the Agnes Tachyon.
For sure.
So for the Agnes Tachyon was off the suggestion of Tommy, one of the Kuwan players that I learned, or at least helped me build this list initially. So for Agnes Tachyon, what she does is every time I play a spell, I can also do -1 health, -1 attack to one of your opponent's follows as well. So it's essentially a ping 1 to one of your opponent's follows as well. Very strong, especially paired with like cheap cost removal spells like Lamplit or Insight. So then basically what I do sometimes is it could be a 2-for-1 or like a 2-for-2 or maybe even like a 2-for-3 sometimes because of how often this card just pings cards off whenever I just play random spells, especially cheap spells. So this card can actually clear boards alone actually, which is kind of insane. Her Evo goes into this Evo here, in which on Evo you can actually salvage any spell. In this case here, there was a line where I actually did salvage Crimson Meteor Storm and resolved it twice for that game, which
Wow.
was very, very funny because then like unfortunately, okay, so for that game, I wanted to grab Truth's Agitator because I only need 3 more damage, but then I saw Crimson Meteor Storm, I'm like, oh wait, this does 3 damage as well, so yeah, we'll resolve it twice. Why not?
That's pretty nasty.
It's actually pretty nasty, and also just because it salvages a spell, that means I can have, It also lets me salvage like other important spells as well. Let's say I need another Lamplit early game, or I can bring out in the Shikigami summons where I can just keep bringing out more bodies on board to swing and just like bury with off of Curse Crafter and just get more fuel for a spell chain and stuff like that. So this card I think is very good this format, especially if you're playing against Cinderella Girls. It does pick up a lot of their free cards that they just bring out randomly for free. It also does well against Grizz aggro too, because a lot of business cards are just weenies. So just pinging them off with one card, with just having this card on board is pretty nice. Pretty nice.
Sure.
So this was definitely one of the MVPs of the during those 4 rounds of CG as well.
Nice.
Going to our 2-ups here, we play the Penguin Wizard. This card is fine. This card is fine. It doesn't contribute to spell chain. This doesn't contribute to spell chain. The only thing it does, it helps you go through your hand. It goes to your deck. It makes fuel for spell chain. But the problem is that it doesn't do anything beyond that. It is pretty big. It's 4 health, so it is pretty tanky. So it does require your opponent to go 2 for 1, or or in the mirror they can just witch bolt it, which is just fine as whatever. But there was a funny play that I learned is that where you can actually in the case that this is your only card, you can actually swing with it, evolve it, stand it again, and then swing with it again, which is actually pretty funny.
No, that's pretty funny. Yeah.
It is pretty funny, but but damage is damage, so you try to stick as much damage as you can, especially if that is your only play. And there was actually a game where that was my only play. I ended up winning that game though, so it was pretty funny still.
Nice.
Yeah. However, I would cut this down though. Cut this down to 1. I would probably put another spell in, plus another cheap spell, because then I want to capitalize more on this card here. Next up, we have the Demon Caller. This card counts toward your spell chain. Oh, speaking of which, this also counts towards spell chain for Kuon specifically, because it needs Omyoji followers and spells in your cemetery in order to reduce its cost. So this card counts here as well. It's an Omyoji card. This card is very strong, and the fact that on Evo, so on play, or in this case, whenever you bring out a Shikigami token, it gains Rush, which lets you attack, or lets your tokens attack another follower that turn, and also +1 attack, which is also pretty relevant, especially if you especially since some of the matchups I had today, they all had 3 health, in which Shikigami helps. The Shikigami token does help clear that up as well, while also adding fuel for spell chain. On Evo, it does call out another token as well on Evo. So there in that token that was called on Evo also gains Rush and +1 as well. So it's pretty good. It's very good. I was playing around with 3 for a while, but I feel like this card I feel like this card could be fine running at 3, because I want to capitalize more on the fact that on this deck's weaknesses rather than its strength. Because for its strength, there's only one line for this deck, is to go to Kuon D-Shift and end the game. I rather focus on the deck's weaknesses, so that way when we get into more harder matchups, we have a way of dealing with those harder matchups. So yeah, which is there's that. Last follow we play is the Traditional Sorcerer. This card also counts towards your Kuon cost reduction. That's an Omyoji card. What it does is on play you can call on play, if you have 7 or more spells or Omyojis in your cemetery, you can call out a Shikigami token for free, and also you can also heal 2 as well. And also it has the other effect where all your Shikigami tokens gain ward. Card I believe is also very important for defense. You kind of want to see this. You kind of want to see this a little bit during mid game though, despite being a 2 cost, just because of the fact that you kind of want to play a little bit defensively with this deck. Because you don't know, because then you always, like as stated earlier, you always feel like you're playing from behind, so you kind of want to have some kind of buffer to make sure you reach turn 7 or turn 8. So you having this just so the fact that you can heal as long as you fulfill the condition for her spell chain to heal 2, and also calling out another Shikigami token that also has ward is also pretty strong as well. It's just a very good defensive play at mid game forward. especially if you especially if your opponent high rolled all their aggro cards and they just start swinging at you at starting turn 1, which is very scary. It's very scary sometimes.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's a very important defensive card.
Yep, very important defensive card.
I've noticed that you don't play the 1-drop owl. Is there a reason why you don't play that card?
For one thing, that doesn't do anything. I mean, in more like it doesn't defend. I'm playing this very defensively. A Magic Owl doesn't defend or anything. At turn 1, it's fine. You want to get your spell chain going, but then sometimes like with so many CGs out, there's so many CG decks out there. With being cool being one of them, the most like aggro is aggro, or playing against Abyss aggro is the most scariest thing you can play into as a Kuan player. That you kind of just want to have some way of defending yourself, which is why I want to capitalize on cheap 1-cost spells that either add fuel for your spell chain or just spells specifically because we want to be able to clear board with Tachyon as well, which is why we rather if anything though, in hindsight, after this event, I want to play more of these 1-cost spells. I'll probably add snipes into this deck as well.
Wow.
Yeah, because I want to play my early games comfortably without having to like worry about like my life mid game, and then after that at end game sometimes like if you're ahead, right? But then there are those games where aggro does just straight up just if they high roll then you lose. So you kind of just want to have some ways to mitigate their high roll. So
for sure.
There's that.
All right, let's get into your Evo.
So the Evos, I did mention this before. The Curse Crafters on 1 because we couldn't find the 2 copies at the venue. I would definitely play 3/3. That would be obligatory, but my dumbass did not look up the date when the ban list was in effect. So we played 1.
That's crazy, bro.
The two Merlins here only because our Evo space is tight, so we only played the 2 Merlins. 2 Penguins. I will cut this to 1. I want to add obviously while this card's still legal for now, I would definitely bump this up to 3 and cut one of these somewhere. But yeah, Penguin Wizard. Sometimes that big the big 5 health actually does come up, especially since my opponent just ignores it sometimes, which can be kind of valued because at that point I have another swing for next turn or have another way to
deal damage.
To dump spells next turn as well. So being a 5 body is not bad at all actually. But outside of that, it doesn't really do anything else. Sometimes I wish I could do more, but this is probably the best we got out of this event for these 2 cards here.
For sure.
Demon Caller on Evo, call a Shikigami token, and it becomes a 4/4. 4/4, kind of important. It's pretty big, so it does clear a lot of things that already attacked last turn. So there's that. And then now we play the 3 Tachyon Evo. Which was the replacement for our Curse Crafters. But now in hindsight, we play more Curse Crafters. But honestly, there were a couple games where I did go through all 3 of my Agneses because I did recur a lot of cards that were in my cemetery. So this definitely was really good during that event. So I'm actually very glad I actually put this at 3. Not that happy that I put this at 2, I put it at 1, but this was it was definitely the next best thing. Maybe after the hit, I would definitely put this back at 3 because this card is just so good. The salvaging the spell is just so good.
For sure. And to cap it off, would you like to have any shout out to your teammate or anyone like that?
Yeah, there's actually one specific shout out that I would like to give out. My round 1 opponent, thank you for giving me the win round 1. I would not have made it to top 16 if you gave me the win. Yeah. That's the most first important. That day, I wanted to, when I got top 16 and scrubbed out, I wanted to find him and give him a firm handshake or buy him a drink, but I couldn't find him, so he probably would have left. So yeah, big shout outs to him. I want to give a shout out to Brian's son, also aka Nova TCG. He got 4th place during the Shadowverse during this event, so congrats to him as well. He's the one who basically gave me a couple pointers with the deck, so big thank you to Brian. Also want to give a shout out to Panda, who is filming this video right now. He's there to support me when I had really bad mental at round 1. So thank you so much, Panda. Also want to give a big shout out to Tommy and Jonathan. Tommy and Jonathan for training me how to play Shadowverse. They're the ones who got my first few games at Shadowverse. So I'm very glad that with their teachings, they helped me got into this game, and I really like this game. So yeah, big shout outs to them.
Yeah,
I also want a big shout out to NVI Max, my locals. I wouldn't be here today weren't for them. So yeah, big shout outs to them as well.
Yeah, for sure. And congratulations again on making top 16. And
thank
I'll
you.
hopefully see you more at the top table.
Thank you very much. I hope so too.
All right, thank you guys, and I hope you guys like and subscribe to our videos. We'll probably have more for top winning deck. Yeah, have a great one.
See ya.